interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air, President Roosevelt has just announced. The attack also was made on all naval and military activities on the principal island of Oahu.
We may have to give up by noon. We don't know yet. They are throwing men and shells at us, and we may not be able to stand it.
That's one thing. First of all, you got to accept something. That you're a prisoner of war. You have no rights. You've lost everything. No help has come. We haven't seen anything. We haven't got any food. We haven't got any reinforcements. We haven't got nothing. We're sold down the road.
We are waiting for God only knows what.
Within hours of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese bombed American air bases on the island of Luzon in the Philippines. By the beginning of January 1942, American troops were defending the Bataan Peninsula on the western side of Manila Bay. What transpired over the next several months was the beginning of the end for many of the 80,000 men called upon to hold this mountainous terrain, a landscape cut by steep ravines and impenetrable jungles. Americans and their Filipino allies somehow managed to hold out against overwhelming odds. In fact, they were fighting two wars, one with a well-fed, well-equipped enemy streaming toward them, and another more personal war against intense tropical heat, a dwindling supply of ammunition, starvation rations, malaria, dysentery, and a host of other tropical diseases that gave no quarter. As on-the-scene war correspondent Frank Hewlett put it so tersely, "We are the battling bastards of Bataan. No mama, no papa, no Uncle Sam. No aunts, no uncles, no cousins, no nieces. No pills, no planes, no artillery pieces. And nobody gives a damn."
The day the Jap planes would come over and they'd be bombing and strafing, and mostly they flew overhead, and the artillery was going. And one day, one of my friends had both his legs blown off, and I went to help him, and I was throwing up, and I couldn't help him, and he was crying because his feet hurt, and he had no feet. And we were there, I think, about 3 months. Then in April, I said to my lieutenant, "I'm going to be 22 years old on the 7th of April," and he said, "You'll never see it."
On April 9, 1942, the American Army commander on Bataan had no choice but to unconditionally surrender 76,000 troops to the Japanese. 12,000 of them were Americans. It was the largest surrender of U.S. troops in American history. During the devastating hardships on Bataan, moments of bravery surfaced, even in a rudimentary Bataan hospital setting.
Well, Colonel Gillespie, who was commandant of the camp, he protested vigorously about the Japanese taking the food and the medicine, what was left for themselves. The Japanese officer that was stationed in the hospital, he threatened Colonel Gillespie several times. He says, don't ever complain to me again. But Gillespie continued to complain. He had showed a lot of courage.
And just when it couldn't get worse, it got worse. 72,000 Americans and Filipinos, already emaciated and disease-ridden from their 3-month ordeal in Bataan, started a 65-mile forced march north. It was a march through hell. Japanese soldiers prodded the malaria-stricken prisoners with bayonets and committed random beheadings by the roadside. These desperate men, whose status was now classified as POW, had no food, no water, no medicine, and no hope. Their destination was Camp O'Donnell. For many, their personal destiny was death on the road, or hoping for death to come quickly. Only 54,000 reached Camp O'Donnell. 5,000 to 10,000 Filipinos and 700 Americans died trying to get there.
After the surrender, though, it was unbelievable the way men was treated. I mean, you couldn't understand that men, some of them on crutches, some of them barefooted, some of them had dysentery, walking along the road, blood running down their legs. And they'd stop us every few minutes. They'd put us in columns of groups of 100 with guards on each side. A lot of men, it fell out, they shot them beside the road, or ran a bayonet through them right there. Some of them take off out across the field, the guards would shoot them. They even buried some of the Filipinos about half dead. They'd make somebody else dig a hole, beat them in the head with a shovel and bury them alive and pack of dirt on them. Hey, you're talking about a nightmare. It was a nightmare, but you built a shell around you and you lost your emotions and you was more like a robot, that somebody was commanding you to do things.
Well, they made us go down to Marvelis and line up on the airstrip down there. And then we got orders, to start the march. So we started the Bataan Death March out of Marvelis. Mm-hmm. And along the road, the Japanese had their field artillery on one of the airstrips up there. And they were going to march us down in front of their guns. So if Craigador fired back, they'd hit us. Oh. So just about the time, we was marching a column of fours, about the time they said, turn to the left and go down that way, Craigador fired. And a shell didn't miss me very far, but it came in at an angle and just sit on the road and scooted down the road. Didn't go off. And we just did about face and went on up that road. We didn't go down there in front of them guns. See, I think we had one meal on the 65-mile march. And they wouldn't let you get water, nothing. I just had the determination to keep going. And I wasn't going to let them get me down. And some of them would give up or they didn't survive. Yeah, I had one of my boys in my outfit. I'd make him get up ahead of the column. And I said, then you can slow down till you get to the back. But don't be caught at the rear end. And everybody else gone, because they'll kill you then. And that's what they do. If you fell out on the side, they just kill you.
If these POWs survived the march to Camp O'Donnell by sheer grit and determination, a new hell awaited them at their destination. Dysentery, malaria, and malnutrition ran rampant. 2,200 Americans and 27,000 Filipinos died at Camp O'Donnell.
You could smell that camp 10 miles before you got there. I was on burial detail for approximately 6 months. We buried 26,000 Filipinos, about 2,500 Americans, not counting those who was executed now. And guys laying there dying, smelling. It had one latrine at one end of the camp, one at the other, old straddle trench. Maggots constantly working in all of that crap where these men had gone. Some of them laying around, had dysentery so bad they'd just lay around that hole. And you had one spigot for the whole camp. And you'd get up the line up to get water. You have to get somebody, you got a half a cup of water a day is all you got. You didn't get a bath or nothing. And the Japanese, every morning, they give you one bowl of rice and a cup of fish soup. That's what you got. At noontime, you got a cup of fish soup, and a bowl of rice and a cup of fish soup. Now, I used to keep a little stick about that long tied on my little old string I had around my G-string here. And when I went on burro detail, I'd just take that stick, and some of the guys blowed up. Some of them was just nothing but skin and bones, but some of them had blowed up. You'd run that stick down through their stomach, you know, let the gas off. Yeah. Then have to go down there and keep them carrying all that weight, because the cemetery is about, I reckon it's about a mile from camp over to Zero Ward, where they kept them all that died and stack them out. Then you had to go almost a mile to the rice paddy where you was burying them.
When you come in the front gate, the ground was littered with dead bodies, American boys, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old boys, blue eyes, black eyes, brown eyes, stared up into the sky, laying on the ground. So they put me on the burial detail, and I carry a body down to the burial ground, and we buried them, and they had holes that previously dug. The holes were only about 18 inches deep, and they were like 20 feet wide and 40 feet long. And we laid the bodies in there side by side, and we put the dog tags in their mouths so they could be identified later on. Dysentery, diseases, they were drinking the water from streams, all polluted with animal urine, and that's what killed them. They all did just, and starvation.
The POWs were then transported to Cabana II, the largest internment camp in the Philippines, located 100 miles north of Manila. In mid-1942, approximately 2,000 American POWs had died at the hands of the Japanese.
The guys are nothing but skin and bones. Now, people have read about the Holocaust. They've seen films about the Holocaust, but they've never seen films of the atrocities in the Southwest Pacific.
Well, if you're subject to shock every day, you become a little immune to it, but not entirely.
Now I'm 23 years old now, and it's rainy season. The rain is pouring down. I weigh 75 pounds. I slept on bamboo. They had little bamboo huts, and I slept on bamboo. And when you get up in the morning, the guy next to you would be dead. The next day, the guy on the other side would be dead. There's death. I was surrounded by death all the time. And I had dysentery, so it was rainy season. The rain was pouring down. So I ran. Now they had these outhouses that were just wooden boxes over a hole in the ground. Well, the thing collapsed, and then I went into the manure. And I come up, and now all I had on was a G-string, no clothes, just a G-string. So I lost my G-string. I'm completely naked. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm 23 years old. I weigh 75 pounds, and I'm washing myself off in the rain, and I'm crying. I'm saying, God, what am I doing here?
Japan looked to these prisoners as sources of labor. From 1942 to mid-1945, more than 126,000 Allied POWs were transported to Japan and other conquered territories in rusty cargo ships to serve as forced laborers. Japanese guards stuffed POWs into holds with little air, food, and water, and they had no sanitary facilities. These ships were unmarked and therefore easy prey for American planes and submarines. Many of these so-called hell ships, each transporting hundreds or up to 3,000 Allied POWs, were tragically sunk by American bombs and torpedoes. More than 21,000 men died on these Japanese hell ships.
Oh, listen. Guys screaming, guys hollering. My God, I said, hey man, this is the end of the world. And but I always put a little humor to it. You know, you got to have a little humor. And I tell guys, listen, if you don't eat that rice, you ain't going home. I said, brother, you better get with it. Be white worms and old stuff had been stored in. You eat worms now.
You get down in the hole there and you wasn't supposed to get out. It was awful down in there.
It was really no secret that they were going to send us. They said that we were to be medical personnel to all the prisoners of war that they had in Japan. In that group, there were a number of dentists and a number of doctors, and there were 10 dentists, 40 doctors, and the rest of the 150 were corpsmen. The day came, they didn't announce the day, they just told us that we were going. And we got on a boat. It was the NRO Maru. We were down in the hold, and a couple of times a day they would lower a bucket with rice in it and a bucket of tea. And I don't know whether they used the same buckets or not, but we had to, they'd have something off in the corner. It was attached to a rope to put your excrement in. Yeah. And they'd pull that up with a rope and dump it over the side of the boat. And twice a day, though, we would get tea and rice. The hatch to where we were, and we could hear the sound of guns. The story was that a ship or two in our convoy had been hit, but we weren't hit. But we could hear the guns. If the boat had been sunk, we would have gone down with it, since we were in, the hatch was sealed, yeah. They had these toilets overhanging the water. And you'd go up and you'd sit on that, but you were always scared to death that it might come loose and you'd land up in the Pacific.
Living conditions were somewhat better in these labor camps. It was in the interest of the Japanese war effort to keep these men alive to do grueling, dangerous manual labor, either in the coal mines and factories or in the shipyards.
I did as little as I could, because I didn't want to do anything that would help them instead of the American coming back. Because I told them one time, after I got to Japan, working in the coal mine, and so that one of them, the civilians were over us in the mine. The soldiers stayed up topside. And they wanted you to work fast. See. I mean, he grabbed my shovel when I was shoveling coal one day, and he just started. And he said, that's the way he wanted me to work. I says, every time I put a shovel of coal out, that keeps Uncle Sam away that much longer. And boy, they got me. They beat me. I grabbed one of those Japs down there one time because he come at me with his, he carried a riding quirt with him all the time. And when he come at me, because I wasn't work, let everybody else sit down and rest, and he wanted me to keep working, but I wouldn't do it. Well, he come after him. And when he raised it up there, I grabbed him, both arms with him. And then they turned me in to the guards out up side. They made me bend over, and they used a pine pole on my back, and I mean they beat me for 10 or 15 minutes there. And I couldn't very well get around for 3 weeks. But I didn't let them beat me down. If they beat you down, they kill you. It was a condemned coal mine. It was condemned in 1936 by American engineers. They didn't care about it coming down on us or whatever happened. Yeah, used to sabotage the jackhammer. Of course, then they got me one time and caught me doing it. They give me a good beating. That one time they beat me so bad I couldn't work. And one boy tried to get me to break his arm, and I wouldn't do it. They'd get him out of work in a while, yeah. One of our own told the Japs what was happening. Japs thought it was accidents, but one of our own soldiers told the Japs that it was not accidents, they was doing it. So when it got so much, they told them, says, anybody comes in with a broken leg, we cut it off. If you broke your arm, you cut it off. And that stopped it, see.
Our diet there was rice, boiled rice, and some greens. They'd send out groups of people to the mountainside to pick certain kinds of greens that were out there. And we occasionally would get dried fish. When they put those fish out to dry, they'd be, flies could get to them, and we had, and some of it was covered with maggots, but you'd brush the maggots off and eat, because that was, didn't get it very often, but that was the only protein we got.
And so finally they pulled into Moji, Japan, and we were all in rags, and skin and bones and rags. And when we got off the ship, there were hundreds of Japanese civilians watching us. And there we were in rags, and they put us on trucks, and they took us to Camp 17. And I never thought I'd ever come back. I thought I was going to die. You never got any rice like you see. It's all red and coarse. But I ate it, and I loved it, because that's what was keeping me alive.
As American forces drew ever closer to the home islands, Japanese authorities issued a new order dated August 1st, 1944. It read, "The moment American troops set foot on the sacred soil of Japan, all POWs are to be put to death."
If the Americans ever invade Japan, which it was already forming in Okinawa, getting ready for the invasion, every American prisoner of war, every British prisoner of war, everyone will be put to death, either by firing squads, gas, or fire. If the Americans invade Japan, all prisoners of war will be executed.
To the American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines preparing for the final bloody invasion of Japan, the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki shortened the war. To the POWs, those bombs were their salvation.
Now, a lot of people says today, why did we drop that bomb on Japan? Let me tell you something, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. If the Americans had invaded Japan, I wouldn't have been a prisoner alive. The morning they dropped that bomb, he lined us up, pulled out that saber. He walked up and down that line in black boots, just a clicking, just walking up and down the line. I'm standing up in the front rank, I'm just standing there, just standing. He says, "Keynote." That was yesterday. American, he's Skokie plane, American plane. B-needs-you-Q, B-29. She's a Bokashi, small bomb. Everything go. And I wonder what in the world it was. You know, I done been locked up, no communications, no letters, no nothing, everything, you know. But what it was, the atomic bomb had destroyed the whole city. We didn't know it.
I think it saved my life. The atomic bomb, but they killed thousands and thousands of Japanese. I don't know if it's worth it, you know, but it did save my life.
And then the guards disappeared.
The Dutch Airborne liberated us. It was in September the 4th or 5th. And I had the opportunity, a bunch of us got out and we went over that old mill. We was after everything. Guys was grabbing rifles and shooting guards. I didn't do that. I said, listen, I done been through too much. I done seen so much hate in my life. I didn't want no more of it. I just got sick of it. First thing it was, we cut out strips, put on top, POW on top. After we knew the war was over, hey, woke up, the guards are gone. Hey, I grabbed a Japanese rifle when I'm at those down here. I'm going down the street with a Japanese rifle. So dang wonder somebody hadn't shot me. I didn't know what I was doing. I had that rifle. I figured it might save me. You know, if I got in a tight spot.
The soldiers come in on the 13th of September. See, the war was over on the 15th of August. And then we waited. This liberating party got in. And I got sick and couldn't leave the camp. They said if you go down to the end of the island, you could catch a ride out on the planes that the engineers bringing stuff in and going out empty. Some of them did, but I got sick and couldn't go. I mean, it was the 16th of September before I got out of that camp.
When I was in the sick bay and the two Japanese came in and announced that the war was over. And they didn't say how it ended, but it was obvious how it ended, and one of them saluted me.
Must have been a...
I thought this is really a change of attitude. Next morning, every Japanese was gone from the place. There was one sergeant there. They called him Dopey, and his chief occupation was go around hitting the prisoners, hit them on the side of the head, and then after the Japanese surrender, before he left, he'd come around the camp and beg some of the guys to hit him. He wanted an even exchange. That he was afraid some of them were going to kill him, I think.
Yeah.
But 2 days later, the old colonel that I spoke of before came, stood up on the high bank above us, and we were all lined up, and he gave us a lecture on the terrible things we had done, our violation of the Geneva Convention. And I didn't, such an atrocity, I didn't know then he was talking about the atomic bomb.
I heard plane motors. I looked up in the sky and I just see the sun glinting off the wings of an airplane. It was American airplanes going over. And then I looked and I saw a big plume of smoke over Nagasaki. Now, I didn't know at the time what it was, but that was the atomic bomb. And about 4 days after that, I was in a coal mine. I was building my UMUC, and the civilians, the Bataan just said, everybody out, everybody out, everybody out. So we went out, and there I was, I got my G-string and my hat and my rubber-toed shoes, and I'm free. The war is over. We got down to where the Americans were, and they fed us bread. I hadn't had bread 3.5 years. I couldn't get enough bread.
For many POWs, the ability to survive in a day-to-day, nightmarish situation had nothing to do with religion, patriotism, or family. To get through one more day was each man's goal.
You serve 1 year in that and you become hard. You have no emotions, no feelings, no nothing. The only thing you got in the back of your mind is one little key word. Is survival, survival, survival. Eat anything, it make no difference, stay alive. Hardships bring you together. It gives you a better outlook on life. It makes you understand things better. Spiritually and physically, maybe not physical, but mentally and spiritually, it makes a better person out of you. To really understand things sometimes, it shouldn't happen this way. You have to be knocked plumb down to the bottom before you can look up. Before you can look up. Where you appreciate things. A cup of water a day, one rice ball. A cup of water a day, one rice ball. 30 days in there. And you know, and I was getting hard. Listen, I was hard as concrete. I didn't weigh about 80, 90 pounds, but there's nothing fazing me. You're living in a different world altogether. You're not living in reality. You're living in a zone that's, it's where it's hard to explain. You're living in something that you're more of a robot. And you go by commands because you have no emotions. There's no emotions. You don't have any. You just don't have no emotion. A man fall dead right there, it didn't bother you. When they executed somebody, you just stood there and looked.
Tried not to let it bother me, because I didn't dwell on any of that stuff. I'd make up a mind on something else, and that helped me get through there. Have the determination to survive.
That's all you're trying to do is survive. At times, it was 3.5 years. I got to the point where I thought it was hopeless. I figured I was a dead man, you know. Many times I figured I was a dead man. But you had to make decisions. And sometimes you made the wise decisions, but mostly you made bad decisions. You just can't help it. I'm not a hero, you know. I got caught over there and all I did was try to survive. I was never a hero. I don't want you to think I was a hero. I was just trying to survive. Well, I built a shield. I had this shield that protected me. It still protects me. I didn't even think of that. I just wanted to live. I just wanted to live.
In the European theater of war, American POWs numbered 94,000, and 1 in 25 of these Americans died in German POW camps. In the Pacific War, American POWs numbered 27,000, and 1 in 3 of these Americans died in Japanese camps. This sideshow of the Pacific War has been lost to history, but not lost in the memories of those who just wanted to survive.
They gave a POW medal in 1980-some.
In fact, I got home, I got no disability, I got nothing. So they gave me a 10% disability and they took it away from me. They disregarded me completely. I'm telling you, even when on my Army discharge, they put nothing on me. I was treated cruelly, honest to God. But they didn't care about me. The Army didn't care about me. They still don't. I was a dead man for 3.5 years. I got nothing. I wonder why nobody seems to care. That's the whole thing. I can't get it across the way I should. You know, I can't explain the suffering I went through, the torture I went through in Cabana II. You know, it's just, how can I explain it?
If we do not want to die together in war, we must learn to live together in peace.